Attention convention attendees, for the last panel of the evening, we are proud to present live in the DKECON booth at DKECON, Mr. Barbarian Rage himself, Scott Cherry!
Hello.
Wah, wah, wah,
Hello.
wah.
Everyone's already gone.
So I made Scott Cherry my last interview of DKECON here. Why is that, Scott?
I don't know. Why?
Why do I like Scott so much?
Someone's got to.
Oh, man. Scott, why don't you tell us what you're doing there? What all of that is? Because
well,
you're doing something kind of amazing.
well, thank you. Yeah, thank you very much.
He's like, yeah.
Well, I used to, when I first started doing toys, I was like, well, I'll make this barbarian figure and then I'll do comics and then people love the comics and they'll go buy my barbarian figure. And it didn't exactly work out that way. But people did like the comic and it did sort of work. And, I always wanted to make a comic book. And I've always been fascinated with stop motion. I have an identical twin brother, and we worked on a stop motion animation, 20 some odd years ago. I got into animation with some friends, and I worked a little bit in comic books. My twin brother did make a comic book for a few years, and I thought, if we merge the two, stop motion and comics, I think that would be something kind of special. Because I loved just the Toy Fair Theater so much. That's where they used to take like the Migos and pose them, and they did the Avengers, and I just thought that was awesome. And when they did Robot Chicken, they were just sort of like, okay, this is just like every toy. But I liked the Migos. So that's sort of what this is. This is, this is the main character, I guess. These are, this is Kilgar and his sidekick. It's a barbarian and a wizard. And
Am I correct that he bears some resemblance to you?
Yes, a little bit. I think everyone.
I had to say that delicately in case you're like, what are you talking about?
No, I do get that a lot, but also I think that that happens a lot. Artists, I think they learn how to draw faces from drawing their own face. We were laughing so hard. My brother Adam is a huge Kiss fan, and he showed me this Paul Stanley. He's a painter now, or I guess he always has been, or whatever. But he's been showing these paintings, and he says, "Look at this Marilyn Monroe painting that he did. He inadvertently painted himself." So it's Marilyn Monroe. It's Marilyn Monroe, but it looks like Paul Stanley. Wow. And I think he inadvertently painted himself as Marilyn Monroe. And I think it's, I think that's actually kind of common. But I did make him look, on purpose, make him look a little bit like me, because he takes on some of my nastier characteristics. So that's this is Kilgar, and
what if I just called you? What if I just called you Kilgar from now on?
That's fine. That's fine. So, like in the Aardman book, they show, or like anything. So like he has a magnetically articulated mouth. Like he has different
But
mouths.
there's a reason it's articulated, right? That's because you are. I mean, he needs different expressions to. That's amazing.
Yeah, and his eyes, they move. And let's see here. So like the eyes will move too if he needs to look wherever, whatever. And this is sort of just like one of those like cheap hot toys or whatever. So there's all the different hands and stuff like that. But this
hot toys are not cheap, by the way.
They're not hot toys. It's like a cheap knockoff,
Oh, okay.
So this armor is all hand sculpted, and this everything. I even made these this sword and the holster, and the greaves and everything. All this is all handmade. Even the clothes. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Even the clothes, everything is handmade. And I chose this scale because when I did the stop motion cartoon, we made up our own scale. We ended up having to make every single thing like down to the tiniest little detail. And I was like, if we just made this like a dollhouse, we could just go buy dollhouse stuff, So I did learn to, go with a pre-existing scale so you could buy some stuff. And then I ended up buying like nothing. I still ended up making everything, because I was like, like even this sword, I made this sword because I was like, dude, what would be like a dope sword? And they made all these like cool Game of Thrones swords. And then it's like this tiny little sword, $65. Like, fuck you, I'm not.
Well, if you're buying the problem with hot toys is very expensive, and so the people buy those.
It is.
I mean, we're talking about something a retail $200 to $300 for one 6-scale toy, as opposed to, if you went with like old 6-scale GI Joe, or Hasbro parts from the '90s, like you could probably get a sword for like $2.
Yeah, I did try and find some old yes, there's a lot of that military stuff, but it doesn't help me a whole lot because I'm doing fantasy, So like this is the wizard Leech, and this is like one of the only pre-existing things that I bought. This was like a green military bag, and then even then I like dyed it black and I put this red piping on it, and I even braided this little strap, so even that's handmade. I made this belt and everything here, all of the clothes, everything, even his shoes are handmade. And he's got 3 eyes, and all 3 of his eyes move, and he's got the magnetic mouths too. So each one of them has, when I wrote the comic book, I went through and I was like, okay, he needs this expression here, this expression there. So here's him whistling. So anyway,
you can't hear Janky over there, but he's just having the best time.
I've seen these live, and I'm still blown away, even just seeing them on camera. So,
thanks, man. Yeah. So there are some mini comics that I have. The comic book is done. And Janky, it's in your email. I emailed it to you. So Dove, if you could wrap this up, I need Chris to go edit my comic book, please. Quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's coming out real soon. I'm doing a Kickstarter in like a couple weeks.
Nice.
So yeah,
and then you didn't send your comic to me.
Well, yeah, I mean, are you going to edit it?
Is Chris?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, we've talked about it a lot.
Well, you know what he's going to do is he's gonna suggest edits. I'm gonna go, well, the reason why I can't change that.
That's exactly what's going to happen.
So here's another thing that I made is a giant spider,
Oh my gosh.
giant articulated spider.
Oh,
And-
it's like thing of my nightmares. Oh, jeez.
And
Wow.
yeah, so they fight this giant spider. And
How long did
I'll
it take
even-
How long did it take to make that spider?
a long time. I want to say like 5 days, because it
Wow.
has to be. It has, like, the head has to move, like everything has to move. You know, like even all the legs have to be.
But you're not doing stop
Articulated.
motion animation. You're just positioning them
No.
for photography.
Yeah, but I mean, and they do like a big fight and things. You know, they need. You know, even though it's not stop motion, it needs to sort of work like it is stop
Got it.
motion. So here I'll show you something. This is here's a bit of a spoiler, but here's another thing that I made.
Oh my goodness.
This is here's a monster that shows up briefly in the first issue, but here, you know, he's another one that his mouth moves and his arm, everything is you know, opposable. His eyes even move.
Ah,
And so
did John move too?
yeah,
Of course.
and you
Shit.
know, everything on there. So even like all this armor, and I even you know, this started as a wireframe. So this is like 100%. You know, with these, there was a doll that I started with. With this was just like a piece of wire, and it's yeah. So that's that. So
Have I ever told you that you're insane?
you know, you wouldn't be the first person. It's a lot. It's a lot.
That is nutbaggery of the wow. Just
I
can't
mean,
even
not only
comprehend.
that, like here's I did the painting for the cover.
Uh-huh. Nice.
Did that took, you know, forever.
I think we have more attendees for Scott than anyone else.
Scott may set a record for the weekend.
No, we don't post
Everyone's
to
just
70.
ramping up. Everyone knows that the giveaway is next.
But isn't that why I booked you last?
Well, thank you. I really do appreciate it. You know, when you asked me to do it, I was like, yeah, sure, of course, you know. And then I looked at the lineup. I was like, holy shit. I
It's
said,
like
to
Frank
my wife,
Kozik, Ron English, Bill McMullen, and then me.
I was showing it to my wife, and she goes, are you like on the same level with that? I go, no. I go, what do you? I go, these are like the best artists
Epic
in the
fail, dude.
world.
Fail. You should have said yes.
Yes,
I'm
baby.
fucking Scott
Well, yeah.
Cherry.
She would see right through it, man. She sees through all my bullshit. She's not gonna buy that. But
Yes.
well, you know, this is all because I want to do this comic book. You know how important it is
I do. We've been working
To
on it for a
me.
long time.
to do it.
And you're like, I don't want to make a figure ever again.
You know, I'm sitting here making figures. It's the grind that you know, like I like the idea of having a comic book where it's like I make one thing and then, you know, get it made. Like when I got pins made, it was like you pay some upfront money and then you come and they come and it's like, hey, I got back stock. I
Right.
like this, you know, instead of like I'll make 10 and then put it on Instagram. And then when 20 sells, it's like, oh my God, I got to go make 10 more of these. And or an order comes in and I'm like, I got to go out and make one. It's like, oh my God. Like sometimes you'd rather not even have the sale. It's like, I got to drag my ass out there and go schlep out the pots. And, you know, it's a lot of work.
Indeed.
And,
why do you do it?
Because, you know, I don't know. I've tried to answer that before. I don't know.
I know
It's
the
just because
answer.
I've always done it, and I don't know how to not do it.
No, because I know the answer, because you'd be freaking miserable doing anything else.
Well, it's not only that. Like,
Look,
that's
if there
true.
was something,
That's true.
look, if there was something else that you could do, right? That you'd be able to get by and be happy and not be a serial killer.
Well, too late.
You, I mean, if you could, like, you know, when you had your job, like painting fishing reels, like if you could have done that job and come home every night and been happy, sat on the couch and, you know, whatever, had dinner and go to bed and wake up the next day and like be happy to go paint fishing reels, you'd still be doing that job.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting because I worked with a guy there, and you know, I was trying so hard to get out of there, and it's so hard to go do anything besides work there because I hated it so much. And the other guy was like, hey, you know, I work 4 10-hour shifts. I get 3-day weekends. He's like, I love this job. He's like, we both got the same job. And he's like, I'm perfectly content and you hate it.
Yeah.
You know,
So
and
it just proves to you, like, it is your state of mind more than anything else that is like, you know, it's not, this is what makes you happy. It also makes you miserable, but it also is what makes you happy.
Yes.
So it's like, you know, it's finding fulfillment. I mean, I've heard all the stories, and, you know, you complain to me quite often. You know, and it's like, this is it. Like, I mean,
I know. I understand that too. And sometimes I do have to step back.
But look what you've created, right? And now you're about to create your own comic book, right? And you're going to put it on Kickstarter, and I'm sure you're going to be fine. Everyone's going to chip in. Everyone loves you and is going to support you. And you're going to put out your first comic book. And either it's going to be like, holy shit, it's Scott C's comic, yeah, woohoo! Or it's going to be like, hey, Scott C had a comic, it's cool, I read it, I like it, right? And that's probably what most the reaction to most things. And then you're going to decide the next thing you're going to go on to. And you're going to keep creating, because
I would like to do this for a little bit. I want to do like 5 issues of this.
Yeah. That's insane. Well,
this was sort of the beginning of Barbarian Rage was this. Like, I wanted to make a world to play in. You know, I wanted to have these characters, and, you know, I wrote a bunch of comic books before I finally settled on these characters and this story. But I want to expand on it, and I know where this story is going, and then after that, I would like to. My goal ever since like high school was to do comic books. I always wanted to do a comic book. And,
so when someone says "live in the dream," that's it. I mean, you're doing a comic book right now.
Yes. Yeah. You know.
All right. So here's the issue.
Yeah.
Right. Not the comic issue. I mean, just the issue.
Yeah.
The question is, can you make this comic book and be fulfilled just by the fact that you made the comic book? And maybe you make a little bit or you lose a little bit, and we're not talking any tragedy, notwithstanding. Like, can you be happy? Or you only going to be happy if you sell 1 million copies and like you get to
No.
retire tomorrow?
No.
And it'll be like Scott Cherry, it'll be like Jakey announcing you like in real life, like as you
Yeah, I mean,
step
if
out of a
I
limousine, walking into San Diego Comic-Con, and people are like, "Hey, it's Scott Cherry," they want
it's
your
not, no,
autograph.
I don't ever want that. I don't. Um, to make a decent living,
That's what
at
everyone
it,
wants.
and that's it. It's not a whole lot to ask for, but I also realize that some artists, it never happens.
Look,
To
I can
not even
count
make any money at all.
in
So
the resin
I'm
in the
very
resin.
happy.
Fine, but in the resin
Yeah.
game here, I can count maybe on one hand, maybe slightly onto two, how many people make a living at this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Everyone is
Sure.
doing this because they love it.
Yes.
And that's
Yeah.
it's the only reason to do it, because I'll tell you, what's going to happen if you don't love it now. If this is a huge success and you make a lot of money, you're still going to be miserable. Oh, did I just imply that you're miserable now? I'm sorry.
Yes.
You will
Well,
be miserable.
It's true, and no matter how big of a success this is, I'm sure I'll still be miserable. But
Sorry for laughing. Oh, Scott, I love you.
success, money, failure, all of that, and none of it has anything to do with how miserable I am.
I really love Dane's response here. He says Scott is happy with not being happy.
That is something that I would contemplate putting on my tombstone, or maybe finally happy.
Finally, if his tombstone said "finally happy." Wow. Okay. Before we like just tank our whole audience here, before they want to go jump off a cliff, it's
Please do.
4:36. I'm probably gonna wait another 15 minutes to do the contest. Is there anyone else who's got any questions?
Real quick, we had a request to see the wall behind Scott, the set that you built.
Oh, this is it.
I think they mean a close-up, Scott.
Let's see.
It's like, oh, now I gotta pick the camera up.
This this is the set. I mean, it's my workbench, so like behind the set is like, here's all my paints, and it's all my silicone molds and all
This
that
is
stuff.
For those of you who don't know, this is a one-car garage.
Yes. And so
That's where
yeah,
all the
this
magic
is
happens. And
the
then
set.
he also has like a little tube TV with a built-in VCR. And he
Oh,
watches.
dude, it died 2 weeks ago.
Well, how would it not die in that hot garage for 20 years? Like,
I know.
And he just keeps watching the same VHS tapes over and over and over.
I don't think it died. I think it committed suicide. I think I put The Hobbit in there again, and it was like,
handle Boone one more time.
Yeah. So yeah, is that what you wanted to see? There you go. This is. I mean, it's
that
spray.
Is that foam? The spray foam?
Yeah, it's spray foam, and then it's painted black, and then dry brushed, gray and white on it.
Sir Collect-A-Lot says, add a new Kickstarter pledge level, get Scott a new VHS player.
You know what?
Well, there's a problem with that. Like, so do they make VHS tapes with like VHS players with like HDMI outputs? You have to get like a little converter box, right? Or SVHS or something.
I don't know.
So
I was in.
He had
I
one of
was-
those units where it was like the prisoners have, like it's like the little TV with the VCR in the front, so he could have his old
Yeah.
tube TV.
Oh no, it's not even. It was just a little TV, and now I went and looked for those prison TVs. They don't make them like that anymore. They're like clear little flat screens.
Of course. Why would you make? That's the problem with the tube TV. And why they had to make it
No,
clear
I've got
for
the
prisoners,
VCR.
because people would
I've got
hide
the
their stuff.
VCR. The TV. It's the TV that
Oh.
jumped out the window.
Skill says I can send him a VCR. I have a really decent one. No HDMI, unfortunately. Right. So if his TV died, then
It's the TV, and then I sat there and contemplated. I'm like, I don't know if I need a TV out here.
there
I
has
don't
to be
know.
some sort of like HDMI to RCA like.
I might just break down and get another prison TV. Maybe I'll get like a little steel toilet and a cot out here, and I'll just make this into a prison cell,
This metaphor is getting dark, dude.
and I'll
Yeah.
never leave.
But isn't HDMI like a digital signal? Like, how do they convert that to
Back
a
to the
VCR?
AV club, nerd.
All right, everybody.
Well, gee, Dub, thanks for having me. I'd
Well,
love to.
you can stick around. Like, you don't have to
Oh,
leave.
okay. Yeah, okay, good. I'll stick around.
We can cry on each other's shoulders.
I got nothing else to do.